Hi.
Members, it's the appointed time. We have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. Agenda item number 1, information papers issued since last meeting. The Secretariat issued a paper that's a response from the administration in response to Ms. Chan Yuet-ming's letter. It's about measures to enhance refuse collection points in rural areas. CB brackets 2602/2024 0 number 1. Items for discussion at the next meeting. Let's welcome the administration to come in. We're going to discuss the items to be discussed in the next meeting. The Secretariat has already issued to members items for discussion at the next meeting. And the list of outstanding items for discussion, CB brackets 2605/2024 brackets 02 and 01. The next meeting is scheduled for the 11th of June 2024. It will be held at 2:30 p.m. The administration proposes to discuss the following items. 1. Advance release arrangement for Hong Kong manufactured food products entering mainland market. And 2. Results of public consultation on the proposed amendments to the Preservatives in Food Regulation Cap 132BD. Do members agree to discuss these two items in the meeting in June? If members have no objections, we will discuss these two items. The meeting will run for 2 hours and will end at 4:30 p.m. Our panel, together with the panel on Environmental Affairs, will hold a joint meeting on the 27th of May 2024 between 2:30 and 4 o'clock. We will discuss the municipal solid waste charging and other management measures. The Secretariat already issued a notice on the 29th of April. Agenda item number 3, construction of a new public market in Tung North New Development Area, NDA. All LegCo members are invited to join the discussion of this item. It involves proposed work projects. In accordance with paragraph 83A of the Rules of Procedure, if members have direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the item being discussed, please declare the relevant interest, and members are not to move any motion or amendments in relation to any items in which they have direct or indirect pecuniary interest. Please declare the relevant interest before you speak. Members who would like to speak, please press the button to request to speak. I now invite Ms. Wong, Undersecretary for Environment and Ecology, to walk us through the papers. CB brackets 2605/2024 brackets 03. The administration has prepared a PowerPoint slide to walk us through the papers. CB brackets 2635/2024 brackets 01. The PowerPoint slides have already been circulated to members. The Undersecretary will not walk members through the PowerPoint slide. Undersecretary, when you're ready. Thank you, Chairman. We're going to seek members' views on the proposed project of the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department to construct a new public market in Tung North, NDA. In 2018 policy address, the government announced identifying a site in the Tung North NDA to build a new public market. We have considered a basket of factors, including the geographical location, use, size, as well as the facilities nearby. We want to ensure a certain scale of operation of the market in order to make good use of public money as well as resources. The new public market is located in Tung North NDA Area 19. The maximum ratio is 6.25. It comprises residential developments and the new market. It has already maxed out the plot ratio. It has good geographical location. It has good accessibility as well. It is near the Kutong Station under planning and construction. It is also within the walking distance of a number of public and private housing developments and the town plaza. It can draw residents living in the vicinity. It not only serves the nearby residents but also members of the public who travel via this transport hub. Like other public markets, the Kutong North New Public Market is for residents to buy fresh provisions. It needs to be kept clean and tidy without being unduly a market. We want the market to serve a greater social function, to let members of the public use the public space. It will also bring together different residents. It is 4-story high. It has a total of 140 stalls. It had landscape areas, multi-purpose areas, as well as an office for the North District Environmental Hygiene Office. Some parts of the market have air conditioning. It also incorporates some new new designs, such as low wall design for stalls. It also has a wide passageway to allow easy passage by strollers and wheelchairs. It will adopt the new management method. Apart from the day-to-day repair and maintenance management, there will also be regular promotional initiatives to promote the wet market. We will liaise with the public and the industry to tap their pulse. In taking forward this project, the administration has been liaising with the Northern District Council as well as the LegCo to canvass their views. We'd like to provide better services to the members of the public as well as the residents. We have already solicited general support for the project. I will take this opportunity to walk you through some of the comments. In relation to the connection of the wet market to the neighboring area, it is located in Kutong North NDA Area 19. On the ground floor, there will be passageway to connect to Kutong North Station as well as the public transport interchange. On the first and second floors, there will also be passageways connecting to the public housing developments in the vicinity. This is to allow residents nearby to access our market more easily. In terms of the management of the new public market, there are concerns over the loading and unloading bay area as well as the parking spaces. Will there be any obstruction? This is of great concern to members of the public. The administration will maintain good management of the new public market and will only allow loading and unloading to take place in the relevant bays. We will also instruct the relevant management to better manage the market. At the same time, in the emergency vehicular access and the connection to the Mingcheng Road, we will put in place certain facilities to better control the flow of vehicles. The management system will also provide real-time parking information. Next, in relation to bicycles and visitor cars, in these areas, they are ancillary facilities. They are to provide convenience to visitors to the market. We've received comments on the number of such parking spaces. As I mentioned, the market is in NTA Area 19. It has already maxed out the plot ratio. The number of market stalls in the new public market has already been taken into account. We have also considered other technical feasibility. We have already struck a balance when it comes to the number of parking spaces. NTA Area 19 has other commercial and residential facilities, so we will provision sufficient parking spaces for visitors. On the layout and types of stalls in the new public market, the FEHD will tap the pulse of the community to firm up the number of food stalls as well as the distribution of industries. Visitors may enjoy the food on the spot, or they may also bring the food home. So we will put in place some sitting areas in the new public market. There will be chairs provided. As long as environmental hygiene is not affected, as long as the passageways are not obstructed, we will allow we will allow members of the public to enjoy the food in the new public market. On environmental protection facilities, we have worked very hard to respond to the demands from citizens. We will put in place more green facilities to promote waste reduction. We will make arrangements for green and community recycling store as well as other self-service recycling machines. There will also be food waste pre-treatment facilities for tenants' use. There will also be different facilities that are aimed at promoting green living style. We will try to increase footfall in order to add vibrancy to the market. We will manage the new public market well. We will also step up publicity. If we have the support of the panel within this year, we will endorse the project to the Public Works Subcommittee of the Legislative Council. Upon endorsement, we will apply for funding from the Finance Committee. Subject to the approval, the works will commence immediately. We aim to complete the project within 4 years. We look forward to member support for our project. That is the Tung North New Public Market. Thank you. Thank you, Under Secretary. 7 members have requested to speak, myself included. They are in order: Mr. Benson Lok, Chan Yuet-ming, Lau Kok Fan, Stephen Ho, Peter Shield, Mr. Lemon Kwong, and me myself. Please allow the administration some time to respond to your questions. Mr. Benson Lok, please. Thank you, Chairman. Public markets are the main places where citizens buy fresh provisions. We support this project. The Undersecretary mentioned using the new management method, but I fail to see any new management elements. Actually, the greatest challenge is not the design not being novel enough, or whether the geographical location is prime enough. The crux of the matter is that the price of food in new public markets is too high, especially in the Northern District. It's not competitive enough. 2 days ago, in prime hours, there was an information program comparing the markets in different areas. We can see Shenzhen public market was buzzing with people. There are quite many vacant stores in the new public market in Hong Kong, but actually the market in Shenzhen is not much better than ours. But then they have very competitive prices. They have great value for money. When it comes to a new management method, businessmen know cost is all about manpower, rentals, as well as different facilities. The Tung North Market is in the Northern District. It faces the challenge of the emerging market in Shenzhen, or the wet public market in Shenzhen. So I'd like to know whether the administration has any new management method in relation to rental. I understand there are new methods as in rental sharing. Can we solve livelihood issues? Can we launch a pilot scheme? Say 10 to 15% of the profits can be used to offset the rentals. I believe this can be reflected in the sale prices of different products in the wet market. This will help enhance the competitive edge on the public market in Kutong. Thank you.
Right. Rather straightforward, 2 questions. Whether a new mode of rental will be adopted to enhance competitiveness. Under Secretary, I think we all agree with the point on hardware. On the new management model, say for Tinshui-wide temporary markets and other markets, Laiwan, etc., we have introduced a new mode of management. The contractor is responsible for management, of course, but on top of that, it is also responsible for promoting the market and devising the promotion strategies. That means they need to engage the stakeholders and listen to their views so as to bring more people to the market. Meanwhile, they will also mount publicity, such as setting up dedicated social media pages to attract patrons. On the issue of competitiveness, of course, it has to do with the macroeconomic environment and the trend of people going up north for spending. Still, we will try every way to help the tenants. In fact, under this new management model, we have introduced the concept of one hawker per store, and then fresh consideration will be given to the performance upon the expiry of a 3-year lease. We'll also put in a condition that the stalls must be manned during business hours. Now, about the apportionment of rent, I think this warrants some time for us to explore in depth, because this new management model is quite different from the traditional approach. At the moment, we have not have any specific stance. Right, next, Mr. Ronnie Chan, 4 minutes, questions and answers, please. This is a livelihood project, and of course I support the development of a new market. I'm no expert, but I see that this project will last for 4 years. And in the vicinity, you have private housing, public housing, an MTR station, all of them under construction. I don't know their construction schedules, so I want to know about the interfacing. When will this public market be completed, and how does it compare with the projects nearby? Will it turn out that some residents have moved in and yet the market is not ready? I understand that auxiliary facilities will be provided, such as a landscape garden, sitting out area, etc. But after all, the primary function of a market is a market. If you want it to contain social functions as well, such as playground facilities for children, it would be a good idea, because children could wait there whilst the adults do their grocery shopping. And there could also be a community garden for people to grow their own vegetables, so as to foster better ties in the community. Now, I understand that you've used up the plot ratio. What about the building height? Can it be relaxed? If you have a taller building, there will be more flexibility in providing more facilities. Despite having the same site area, will you consider allowing the building to go taller? Right, 3 questions. Interfacing, more recreational facilities, such as a playground and community garden, as well as relaxing the building height restriction. Well, I will give this question to the ASD colleague. about building height restriction. Now, on the population intake, the construction timetables, etc., the construction of Kutong North Station was commissioned in 2023 for completion in 2027. As I said, this market will be completed in 2028. This market is situated in Area 19. Starting from 2026, the public housing projects in the vicinity will see their completion. And then for private housing, starting from 2025, they will be completed in phases. And then in Area 24, there is a Hong Kong Housing Society Development Project, which will be completed by the third quarter of 2028. So that's the overall situation in the neighborhood. On a higher level, for public and private housing in Kutong in general, population intake will begin from 2025 to 2032. 50,000 units will be completed, covering 131,000 in the district population. So I'd say that time-wise, everything fits. To take your second question on children's playground facilities, etc., and the parent-child facilities, I note your views. The wet market provides fresh provisions, but at the same time, it also carries other functions, such as a placemaking element, and there is also a plaza nearby. I believe that these facilities will be popular and will help attract more patrons to the market. So I note your comment on facilities for children. About the plot ratio 6.25, I'm afraid that the plan has used up the plot ratio. As for building height restriction, I understand that there are limitations. I will give the floor to the ASD colleague now. The public market is situated on a housing authority site that comes with a building height restriction. Now, the rooftop level of the market is exactly on the level of the ventilation corridor, so I'm afraid there is a restriction here. Next, Mr. Edward Lau. I think that the design of this Kutong North new public market is quite good. But I have two questions. As mentioned by other members, it's not easy to operate a market nowadays in the North District. There are challenges. In Kutong North, in Kutong, there is a rather old public market quite close to the new one. At the moment, the old market's occupancy rate is low. So after commissioning of the new public market in Kutong North, will there be any plan of merging the two? Is there a plan to redevelop the old market? My second question is this. This public market is really convenient. It's right next to a station. The station is next to a residential neighborhood. And of course, it's nice for the public market to provide fresh provisions for the neighborhood. But I hope that cooked food can be provided as well. Well, it's not a cooked food stall, despite having some stalls selling cooked food, and there is no seating area available for dine-in customers. So have you talked to the housing department for the two public housing estates nearby? Will there be sufficient eating establishments for local residents? Because otherwise, if there is an expectation for cooked food to be provided in the public market, and at the same time, if you expect the housing authority public estates to come with eateries, which turn out not to be the case, then there will be a problem. Do you have any statistics that you can tell us about the restaurants to be provided in the public housing estates, about the cooked food stall and the question you put, I will give the floor to my colleague later. But to take your point on the sale of cooked food, well, this public market is situated on an HA site, so as far as the overall planning is concerned, the Housing Authority has planned for space for F&B and the provision of cooked food. As I mentioned, there will be 10 cooked food stalls in the market. But like I said, on different floors, seating areas will be made available. There is also some greenery. So members of the public can bring the food home or enjoy the food in those areas I mentioned. And then among the 10 cooked food stalls, there will be space for furniture. Now, let's turn to the Housing Department's plan. In fact, on the slide, on the left-hand side of the presentation slide, you will find that it's street-facing. That comes with tables and chairs. In Area 19, altogether 7,200 square meters of space will be provided for retail, catering, but the Housing Department will adjust this ratio in light of the actual circumstances. Floor space will be reserved for catering and retail. In the market, a variety of catering choices will be provided to the public. Perhaps I'll give the floor to my colleague. Thank you, Mr. Lau, for your question. About the Tung Market cum Shopping Arcade, it was commissioned in 1985. It is situated on the southern side of Tung. It provides choices of fresh provisions and food for the local residents. Now, for the Tung Market cum Shopping Arcade, it is not related to the project in question. For markets in operation and patronized by the public, the FEHD has been closely monitoring their operation. In the future, if there is a need to consolidate markets or redevelop markets, we will, of course, consult stakeholders as well as the public. Chairman, I hope that after the meeting, the FEHD and Housing Department can give us more information on how many eateries will be provided in the vicinity. My worry is that there won't be sufficient restaurants available. There may be a mismatch or an expectation shortfall, and at the end of the day, there may be a shortage of supply, and that local residents will need to go to another district for food. You told us that there will be cooked food stalls, but I want to make sure that there'll be a sufficient supply of restaurants to local residents, right? We will relay your request to the Housing Department. Right, we'll ask the Housing Department to provide information to this panel.
多謝主席。
Next member, Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, there are stalls selling chickens, so I can't say it's a poor design. There are still views on live poultry, but I'm not going to discuss these views. It's actually a good policy to promote um, on parking spaces for goods and vehicles. There are 34 private car spaces, 5 bicycles, as well as some motorcycle, as well as some parking spaces for motorcycles. What about lorries? I can you can ask me to park these in Tung and then come back. You need to ensure the industrial chain. I agree with Mr. Albert Lau on cook stalls. There are 10 cook stalls, but there are no chairs. What about tables? Are there sufficient tables? If you make it like the wet market in Taipo Market, that is, the tables are shared, it might be workable. We always talk about carbon emissions. Maybe I will be criticized. Well, if I ask people to use reusable utensils, I may be criticized. It, it may be quite difficult to ask people to go to the first floor or to go to the ground floor. You can sell like siu mei or other Chinese food similar to siu mei in all these stalls. Mr. Benson Lok mentioned members of the public go north just to go to wet public markets. But actually, wet public markets are livelihood projects that meet the basic demands for residents, for members of the public. But it's difficult for me to be against this project. It will be commissioned in 2028. If we're not going to take it forward, when will it be commissioned? How long do we have to wait? What about the next public market? Will it still be like this one? Thank you. On the parking spaces for lorries, there are 5 lower parking spaces, some on the first floor, 3 on the ground floor. On the cook food stalls, well, hang on. Right from the outset, I already said that let's not count those loading and unloading bays. You don't even have 1 parking space for lorries. Well, the administration has heard you clearly. ASD, if not, why? Yes, there is indeed a loading bay. There are a total of 5. Well, did you hear me loud and clear? I spoke Cantonese. Well, Chairman, well, in our current design, there's none. Why? Why are you not going to provide any lorry parking spaces, whereas you're going to provide private car parking spaces? That reflects your attitude. Administration, have you heard Mr. Stephen Ho loud and clear? We can provide supplementary information after the meeting. Regarding cook food stalls, we've heard members. Are there sufficient tables and chairs? Well, mainly there are chairs in our design. Regarding takeaway stores, we've heard members would like to have characteristics to attract residents to come to the stalls. Not all of them have to be siu mei stores. Some sell other types of food. Well, in your written response, you need to think very carefully. I believe the administration has already heard you loud and clear. They are going to provide supplementary information after the meeting. Next member, Mr. Peter Schill. Thank you, Chairman. I understand why Mr. Stephen Ho was quite agitated. Some stakeholders let us know there's a lack of parking spaces. This affected their operation. The additional costs are ultimately passed on to citizens in the end. I hope you will carefully consider the lack of parking spaces for lorries. The project cost is about $700 million. To be exact, $787.9 million. The government has a tight budget. The economy is not doing well. Have you tried to reduce the project cost? Can it be further compressed? Undersecretary. It's a parallel tendering. If we keep the existing scale of operation, the project cost is about the same. Is there any room for adjustments? Well, of course, there's room for negotiation, but probably some facilities may be affected. We may not be able to provide some facilities. Well, I hope you will reduce the cost. The government has a tight budget and we need to tighten our belt. Next, I can see a hydroponic farming stall, some 2,000 square feet. So people will come and buy vegetables on the spot, is that correct? Some produce will be taken from outside. Well, the farming stall measures 2,000 square feet. Is it owned by a couple of different owners? How many sellers are there in total? Undersecretary. Deputy Director, Mr. Law. The entire farming stall is for hydroponic purposes. We work with AFCD and we are discussing with them the space or the area. Our principle is that no matter the mode of operation, we want to have experienced stall owners, that is, stall owners that have experience in hydroponic operation. I understand 2,000 square meters, that sounds quite a large area. So, how many vegetables can be harvested in total? How many vegetables can be sold? If there is just one single owner, 2,000 square feet farming stall belongs to one single owner. That'd be quite a good idea indeed for that owner. So how much are you going to charge that owner? How many owners are there in total? If there are 10 owners, each one can only have 200 square feet. Have you thought through the process? The operation of the stall? Yes, I understand. We will discuss that with the AFCD. The concept is quite good. There can even be live seafood. You need to strike a balance between a good idea and the reality. How effective can it be? You need to think about the reality. Next, Mr. Lemon Kong. Thank you, Chairman. Wet markets are important lively projects. I definitely support it. This project is in Kutong North NDA. There are many public housing areas, so I of course support this project. The photo montage looks very good. The document mentioned placemaking elements for recreational and activities of members of the public. In Kutong North New Public Market, I understand these will be provided. In other markets, however, for example, in Aberdeen Wet Market renovation projects, there are also public areas, but that one is smaller. There are a couple of tables, chairs, and so on. I'm not sure if activities have been held, such as festive events or market promotions. However, in the Kutong North New Public Market public area, how large will the public area be? In promotion of festive events, do you have any plan? Will it engage the operator under the new management model to think about the publicity efforts? Chinese festive events are always related to food. Can we step up publicity on these new public market in order to attract more footfall to the market? We need to think about the mode of operation and the future direction. Next, on parking spaces, I agree that private car parking spaces are just ancillary. There are car parks in the nearby areas. When it comes to cooperation or interaction, we want to provide convenience to other people as well. Say if you have special characteristics in the market, probably people living in other areas may find it worthwhile to drive all the way to this new public market to visit the market. They may even do shopping in this new public market. So my suggestion is that when you make spending in the new public market, can you collaborate with the car park nearby to provide car parking spaces for these patrons of the new public market? This can in turn increase the number of parking spaces. I thank the administration for maintaining liaison with us. We mentioned EV charging facilities. There are EV charging stations. Will there be quick charging stations provided for the public? Patrons to the new public market are just going to park their vehicles for a short period of time. So do you have quick charging stations? Undersecretary. On placemaking elements, I'd like to ask Deputy Director to give you more information. Deputy Director. Thank you. Thank you, Member. Indeed, when it comes to placemaking elements, we want to connect the new public market and the community. The market modernization program is subject to existing geographical constraints. Indeed, space is limited. We always want more. When it comes to the Kutong North New Public Market, in terms of the positioning, we want to step up publicity as well as publicity events. We want to launch events that are community-based. We want to bring together members of the public. So when the operator of new market starts working, I hope they will liaise with district councillors. They can decide on a mode to promote the new public market. This is the direction forward, but when it comes to the implementation details, we want to make use of the existing resources and facilities. Thank you.
Now, on parking spaces, we have done our level best to incorporate 34 parking spaces in our plan. Now, why are they parking spaces for private cars? The market is situated right next to the public transport interchange, and the MTR station is very accessible. We also provide a bicycle parking area. As you know, Kutong North is in the countryside, and many grocery shoppers would use the bicycle to do their shopping. We have parking spaces for visitors in the vicinity, such as areas 19, 24, and 25. There are developments that could provide up to 90 parking spaces. On electric chargers for EVs, all our parking spaces are equipped with medium chargers. This is for the benefit of the public. Well, after all, electric vehicles may go there just to have a quick charge and not to stay there overnight until the batteries are fully charged. So, as you know, in order to supply sufficient electricity, we need to increase the capacity of the transformer rooms by up to 10-fold, and this is a burden. At the same time, at petrol filling stations, we are starting to provide electric charging. So having considered all the needs, we have decided to provide medium speed chargers at the 34 parking spaces. Next, Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, while I understand the need to provide a new market, I have the following comment to make. It is nicely designed, it's innovative, but I'm afraid that the devil is in the details. You need to be forward-looking in planning for a new market. That is to say, you need to consider whether this can meet the long-term demand. In fact, I recently visited the public market in Queen's Hill, and the vendors there add their grievances. For the younger generation, nowadays they usually buy takeaways and they rarely cook their own meals. And for the elderly population living near to the boundary, they would usually do grocery shopping across the border. During the visit, I saw some grocery shoppers, but I'd say that these operators would not be able to reap a profit that could cover the rent. And for market vendors in the North District, not many of them could afford hiring a help. At most, they earn $8,000, $9,000 a month, and many of them could barely make ends meet. Say, for this vegetable stall operator, she sells Chinese herbs as well. The herbs have dried up, but the business is so bleak that she wouldn't just discard the unusable herbs. Only 3 or 4 stalls are left in that market. It's really hard to do business there. Now, I know that here there will be 131,000 population in the district. We can't compare that with just a 23,000 population in Queen's Hill, and the demographics in Kutong North will be much younger. Still, it's close to the boundary. Can you explain to us how you have considered the trade mix, and have you considered the potential users and whether your plan meets the profile? Of course, in terms of pricing, we are in no way competitive comparing to Shenzhen. At a glance, I am quite astonished at the number of stalls provided here. As many as 140 stalls. Are you sure? And will there be any innovative modes of operation? Now, cooked food is one way out, but I also visited this market in Shamshui-Po. Say, if you want to make a certain kind of dish with tofu, and if you want to package it in advance and sell it as a pre-packed dish, then it's not permissible in the public market because it contravenes the food regulations. I want to know whether the same limitations will apply for this new market. Right. So a number of questions for the Undersecretary. I share the members' sentiment. I also took part in an event in Queens Hill. So I'd say that population-wise, we cannot make this comparison. For Kutong North is much more accessible. It's a prime location as far as this market is concerned. And I think I just went through the hardware and the new management model with you. We expect that apart from residents in the neighborhood, other residents nearby can also use the same market. On the issue of Shenzhen, of course, I understand that we will lose out in this competition as far as pricing is concerned. But we do have our advantages, such as live poultry. You cannot bring live poultry across the border. And we do provide a live poultry stall in this market. The director can take the next question. Thank you, Ms. Doreen Kong. Simply put, I think I also subscribe to your views. On the future management of the market, flexibility will be provided for not only the contractor but also the stall operators, so that they could make rapid changes to meet the changing taste of patrons. At the moment, we have not finalized the trade mix in this market, the commodities to be provided, etc. Once the project is completed and right before the commissioning of this market, we will be collecting views from the local community and stakeholders through the contractor. We want to make sure that the trade mix and the commodities available in this market will cater for the needs of the local community in the future. That is why we are keeping things flexible at the moment. All right. I'm the last one to speak, and I want to make this comment. First, about the photovoltaic panels. I understand that this is part of your design. In order to achieve efficiency, the panels should be oriented in such a way as to take in the maximum amount of sunlight. So I want to know whether you have made sure that the panels are configured in such a way to maximize power generation. On the second point, I agree that you have balanced all factors in providing cooked food. But I wonder whether a new mode of operation can be provided, and that is quick chargers can be provided instead of medium speed chargers, and that they could get a portion of the profit. About green at community, will a recycling point be provided for food to either be, or the leftovers be either given to those in need or be recycled? About the solar panels, they span 100 square meters in area. The ASD can supplement on the question of efficiency. On electric charging, drawing on the experience of Tseung Kwan O and Kutong North public market proposals, we have talked to the EPD. In fact, the EPD has issued a circular for reference by government departments on installing medium or quick chargers. They are in the process of updating the circular. We do hope that needs can be met. Now, once the circular is updated, the departments will base their work on the updated version. On recycling of food waste, we have a recycling point. We also have a pre-treatment facility. Now, what Chairman just referred to is the giving away of surplus food under the Foodwise campaign. That means for those in need, those who are interested, they may just pick up the unsold and surplus food from the point. This is something we will bring back to the relevant department. On solar panels, usually they are installed at locations which could allow the maximum absorption of sunlight. However, since the market is surrounded by residential neighborhood, we need to strike a balance so as not to create light pollution and cause a nuisance to the residential neighborhood. 3 members would like to speak for the second round. We'll wrap up this item by 3:30. That means that we have 3 minutes left. I will give each member just 1 minute. Mr. Benson, look. Thank you, Chairman. In short, the BPA earlier met with the administration and gave our support. Now, cooked food center is something close to the heart of the people. Like Director Xia Baolong said, tourism is everywhere in Hong Kong. We used to have some really famous cooked food centers, such as the one in Tai Po. It's part of the market. Recently, we've come across the Tseung Kwan O public market proposal and also this one in Kutong North. Neither of them comes with cooked food center. Can you explain why? Has it to do with the configuration? Right, let's hear from another member first, Ms. Doreen Kong. Very straightforward. I'd like to know how the level of rent is set. Like Mr. Benson said, apart from turnover rent, are there other ways to set the level of rent more flexibly? Now, Macau faces the same problem as Hong Kong. They find it difficult to run public markets as well. So do be flexible in pricing. Mr. Stephen Ho, I agree with Doreen Kong. Perhaps the government can give us information on the average rent of new markets. Then perhaps even in the private sector, things are not looking good either, and it's not your fault. The next question is, now you can explain to us your difficulties, why you're not able to accede to our request. You can't just dodge the question. I hope that before this item is submitted to the Public Works Subcommittee, you can tell us why lorry parking spaces are not provided. Just include a small paragraph in your paper to explain how you assessed the demand for lorry parking. Don't just tell me that loading bays are available. Right, cooked food center, parking spaces, etc. Undersecretary, short answers, please. When we submit the item to the Public Works Subcommittee, we will be addressing the issues raised today. On the level of rent, we make reference to the reference rental value of the property provided by the Rates and Valuation Department. In the open bidding process, consideration will be given to the open tender result of the markets of a similar nature. That means we reflect the market level. But of course, the actual location of the facilities and the stores would somewhat affect the reference rental value. Members' comments are noted. Some members made some new suggestions. We'll go back and mull them over. Right, Secretary, just prepare yourselves for more questions to come. Perhaps meanwhile, you can approach members and explain the answers to them before the item is submitted to the Public Works Subcommittee. My take is that members who have spoken are in general supportive of this proposal. There are also suggestions such as the arrangement of cooked food centers and seamless transition, parking space, mode of operation, hydroponics, etc. Please note members' comments and improve your proposal.
Agenda item number 4. Reprovisioning of cremators and related works at Kwai Chung Crematorium. Let's welcome the administration to join us. As this agenda item involves proposed work projects, all eligible members are invited to join the discussion of this agenda item. In accordance with paragraph 83A of the Rules of Procedure, in relation to items in which members have direct or indirect pecuniary interest, members are not to move any motion or amendment unless members declare the nature of the relevant interest. So if members have direct pecuniary interest or indirect pecuniary interest, please disclose the nature of the relevant interest before you speak. Members who would like to speak, please press the button right now. I will now invite Undersecretary for Environment and Ecology, Ms. Wong, to walk us through the papers. CB-2605/2024/04. Undersecretary, please. Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to brief members on the proposed works to reprovision cremators and refurbish aged associated facilities of Kwai Chung Crematorium. The 4 cremators started use a long time ago. They were reprovisioned in 2003. The stability of the 4 cremators will be decreasing, so we need to refurbish the relevant cremators. In order not to affect the cremation services, we need to reprovision all 4 cremators. The new reprovision cremators will use computerized mode of operation. There will also be up-to-date technologies. We understand citizens have concerns about air quality. We will use the latest technology such as advanced gas filtering system to process and filter out waste gases and particles generated during the combustion process in order to ensure these are in line with our requirements. Other facilities have been in use for over 20 years. They cannot meet the demand right now. So in an open space nearby, we will build a building to accommodate some of the plant room spaces for maintenance, repairs, equipment, and storage in order to free up spaces to enlarge the coffin holding areas in the main building. And we will also refurbish other facilities. Upon the completion of the works, we can improve the routes for visitors and transit of coffin within the crematorium in order to provide the families of the deceased with a more dignified and comfortable space for farewell ceremonies. The FEHD will use special arrangements and staff redeployment arrangements to provide additional cremation sessions in other existing crematoria. If the panel supports this project, we will endorse this project to the Public Works Subcommittee and Finance Committee for approval. If the provision is green-lighted, we will get started with the project as soon as possible. We aim to complete the project by the end of 2027 or in early 2028, that is in 3.5 years time, in order to provide stable cremation services. I will ask the FEHD to brief you on the details of the project. We're happy to take questions afterwards. FEHD? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. I'd like to brief members on the specifics of the project. For this project, we would like to reprovision cremators in Kwai Chung Crematorium and refurbish aged associated facilities in the crematorium. As the Undersecretary has already said, in 1979 it was commissioned. In 2003 it was reprovisioned once. It's been some 21 years. We have already reached the end of the lifespan on the cremators. They can be used for up to 2 decades. So in order to provide stable cremation services, we will refurbish and reprovision cremators in the crematorium. Cremators that have been used for a long time need constant repair, so we need to carry out the project as soon as possible. In our project, which I'm going to give you more details about, involves a building that is a crematorium that have 4 stories. There are offices. There are also other facilities. On the first floor, there are cremation facilities. We're going to report to members on the works. There are a total of 4 cremators in the crematorium. We're going to dismantle these 4 cremators and reprovision 4. There are 2 service halls, and we will enhance these halls. We hope to better manage the flow of people as well as transport arrangements, so that members of the public will have a more dignified and comfortable space for farewell ceremonies. In relation to the next step, we will also convert and add associated operation-related facilities. There is an open area next to the ancillary building. Next to the main building. We'd like to add an ancillary building to house plan rooms, to free up space for a larger coffin holding areas. In items D and E, we will convert some existing facilities such as waiting rooms, storage rooms, as well as associated facilities and reception, toilets, office areas, and other facilities as well. We'd like to enhance the working environment for our colleagues. Air conditioning, fire service, power supply system, as well as lifts will have to be retrofitted and replaced. I believe members are concerned about the environmental impact of the project as well as any impact on services. These works will not cause any environmental impact, and the new cremators will have to comply with the relevant emission requirements. Upon the completion of the project, we will comply with the relevant requirements. That is the environmental permit. In the course of the works, the crematorium has some facilities nearby, including Garden of Remembrance as well as columbarium and abortus cremation facilities. They are not covered under the project in question, so they will maintain their normal operation. We will make special arrangements through staff redeployment. We will provide additional cremation sessions in other existing crematoria, that is to cater for the public's demands. Basically, this project will not cause any impact on existing services. In relation to financial implications, the capital cost of the proposed project is estimated to be 555 million in money of the day prices. After the meeting today, we'll bring this item to the Public Works Subcommittee as well as the Finance Committee for the approval of funding. Afterwards, we'll start the relevant works as soon as possible. We aim to complete all the works within 3.5 years, after which it will start operation to provide services for the public. We will carry out parallel tendering in order to kickstart the works as soon as possible. When the Finance Committee approves the funding, we will award the contract immediately. On the left, on the site plan, we can see cremators in yellow. On the right, there are 2 service halls. The ceiling will be windows in order to enhance the level of transparency. There will be buildings nearby, but we want to vacate the area for the enlargement of the coffin holding area. At the same time, we will also try to better manage the flow of people and put in place better crowd control. That's my introduction of the project. I hope members will support this project. 6 members have already pressed the button to request to speak. They are in order: Mr. Ron Chan, Mr. Stephen Ho, Benson Look, Mr. Inco, Mr. Bill Tang, and me. Each member questions and answers included 4 minutes. Please allow the administration enough time to respond to your questions. Mr. Ron Chan. Thank you, Chairman. The cremators have already reached the end of the lifespan. I support this project. The FEHD just now said that within 15 days of the application, cremation sessions can be arranged. This project will take 3.5 years. The usage rate is 92% at present. After the construction of the project, the cremation services will rise to 105%. That is beyond saturation. Can you still keep your performance pledge? It's close to my heart. I'd like to know the assessment of the administration. From the information papers of the administration, in 2031, Walhub Crematorium will be starting operation, and 21,000 cremation sessions will be added. 6,000 sessions will be added, and the usage rate will decrease to 76%. It's a dramatic drop. So when all crematoria are in operation, the percentage rate will be reduced to 76%. The performance pledge is 15 days. Will it be reduced to 7 days or 8 days? So that while we are upgrading our facilities, we will enhance the services, and the applicants will take a shorter time to wait for the cremation services. Thank you.
Yes, a target rate as well as shortening the performance, the time in your performance pledge. I think we provided the answer during the special FC session that the waiting time continues to change. We are shutting down 4 cremators, but through manpower redeployment and special arrangements in the operation of other crematoria, additional time slots will be made available so as to help us meet the performance pledge. In fact, during the fifth wave of COVID-19 epidemic, we had been able to meet the target despite difficulties. The member's question was whether with 4 crematoriums fewer, we will be able to meet the performance pledge, and I already explained that additional cremation sessions will be provided. For the Wahop Shek crematorium, upon commissioning, more cremation sessions will be available, and whether this will cause a waste of resources. The answer is in the negative, because other crematories in the other crematoria will reach the end of their service life and reprovisioning will be needed. Say, by the time Wahop Shek crematorium is commissioned, the one in Fushan will approach the end of its service life, and we will be reprovisioning other crematories through manpower deployment and special operational arrangements. We will be able to meet the performance pledge. Let's say in the future, if reprovisioning is required for 1 to 2 crematoria, then after commissioning of Wahop Shek crematorium, 21,000 cremation sessions will be provided in addition, and that means more than 92%. So we consider shortening the waiting time. With additional cremation sessions available, you should shorten the waiting time for cremation service so as to meet public expectation. Please note Mr. Chan's views. Upon commissioning of the reprovisioned crematories, perhaps you should go back and consider whether to shorten the waiting time in your performance pledge. Just to comment, Mr. Stephen Ho next. To pick up on what Mr. Chan said, the crematories were suspended for 3.5 years. So after refurbishment, will there be a fee hike? So that's the first question. Second, 3 years is not a short period. So the public may turn to private or services in the private sector if none is available in the public sector. Will there be assessment of the fee levels in the private sector? Because the underprivileged in the community may not be able to pay for the hefty fees for funeral services. Now, in fact, there is a relief fund that provides a subsidy of up to $17,180,000 for those in need. Now, I recently heard about the suspension of funeral parlor, and the services were suspended for weeks. It's been lengthened to 4 to 5 weeks. In other words, I'm suggesting that this level of subsidy provided by the government may not help the needy meet the expenses for dignified funeral services. So that's a question on the dollar sign. Right, Undersecretary, the question on fees. If we are to increase the cremation fees, we need to amend the regulations. No, I'm talking about the hiring of venues. The member referred to funeral parlors. In fact, it's not the same as cremation service. There are 6 private operators, mostly operating in monasteries for the cremation of the deceased monks, whereas for the publicly operated crematoria, they are regulated by the laws, and a legislative amendment will be needed to adjust the fees. You mentioned the allowance for CSSA recipients that in the form of a burial grant. In considering the amount of grant to be disbursed, reference will be made to the fees charged by public cremation service. So to make sure that the allowance will be able to meet the expenses. No, my question isn't on legislative amendment. I am asking about the refurbished cremators, whether by the time they're commissioned, you will go by the users pay principle. And as a matter of cost recovery, you'll be coming back to us to apply for a fee hike for funeral services and cremation services. It works this way. We have this mechanism. Government departments go by the principle of users pay. I'm just asking whether the fees will go up. You mentioned that the CSSA burial grant will make reference to the fees that you charge, but like Mr. Ron Chan said, after the suspension of the cremators, the usage rate will go up to 105%. With a shortage of service in the public sector, people will turn to the private sector and fees will be higher. I think your views are noted. She's given an answer. Basically, in the private sector, this service is not available. I stand to be corrected. I'm not talking about cremation. I'm talking about funeral parlors. Right. The other point is about, again, the dollar sign. As I understand from the administration, if fees are to be adjusted, they would need to submit the legislative proposal, and the members will be free to add their views by then. Today's topic is on whether you support reprovisioning of the cremators in this crematorium. Now, it's crucial because after we've given the go-ahead, when they come back and ask for a fee hike, they may refer to our decision today, and it's hard to say no then. Right, I think this is not just about reprovisioning of cremators and a fee hike. Is part of the plan. And I think that when it comes to fee adjustment, the administration will duly consider the factors. Mr. Benson, look, this is a paper on reprovisioning of cremators and related works in Kwai Chung Crematorium. The project totals $500+ million. $550 million. This is the number stated in the 5-page document. I'd like to have more information to facilitate our discussion. I have 3 questions. Paragraph 5, justifications, sets out the current situation. Annually, the 4 cremators in Kwai Chung Crematorium provides around 7,000 cremation sessions. Due to aging of the cremators, repairs are getting more frequent, and this may hamper service provision. I'd like the administration to give us more figures as to how the situation has eaten into the pledge of 7,000 cremation sessions every year. Is it the case that in the past year, only half of the 7,000 sessions could be provided? I don't see this information in this paragraph. Next question, $550 million to replace or reprovision 4 cremators. According to the paper, in 2024, it's estimated that the 52,000 sessions will be needed, and by 2030, 60,000 sessions will be needed. Is it that the figure will come down to just 7,000 cremation sessions after reprovisioning, or is it that you will enhance capacity through the use of the latest technologies after reprovisioning the cremators? Third question. Kwai Chung Crematorium was reprovisioned once in 2003, and it's been 21 years. So we're talking about a service life of 21 years for the cremators. What about other cremators in Hong Kong? How many of them have reached over 20 years of service life? that warrant reprovisioning, because otherwise we need to consider the public coffers. I'll give the floor to the ASD to answer the question on $550 million. As your next question, how many cremators have had the lifespan of over 20 years and in their condition? I will give the floor to my colleague. Now let me take your question on 7,000 cremation sessions. 4 cremators will be demolished for 4 new cremators to be installed. Is there room to provide more cremators? We need to comply with the requirements under the Environmental Impact Assessment Ordinance. The permit allows only 4 cremators with a total capacity of not more than 760 kilograms per hour. That means, with this condition stipulated in the permit, and with the same number of cremators to be reprovisioned, we should maintain the level at 7,000 cremation sessions. Of course, we'll also talk to the Environmental Protection Department. By the time when we apply for this permit, we will see if there is room to raise this figure. From ASD, Mr. Ho. But, Chairman, can I first invite the administration to explain the situation where in which the cremation services will be affected as a result of reprovisioning of cremators? I think they should first answer this question. This is the crux of today's discussion. Yes, how does the current service capacity work? Well, we do repair cremators on a regular basis. But on top of regular repair and maintenance, we face a problem. With aging cremators, repairs may become more frequent and they may break down, and this may mean several days of downtime for repair. In our experience, for cremators that have been used for more than 15 years, we do need to closely monitor the operation and step up the frequency of repairs. And in our experience, for cremators going beyond 20 years of service, we need to keep a very close eye on them as they operate with high temperature. Inevitably, an aged machine may break down more frequently. At the same time, we need to ensure that a stable level of cremation sessions can be provided. I mean, machines break down every now and then. It depends on how frequent the breakdowns occur. And then that depends on the condition of individual cremators. But in general, for cremators that have been in service for 15 years, in my experience, it is possible, and I mean it is possible, that more repairs may be needed other than the regular maintenance and repair exercise. So to err on the side of caution, we have proposed the reprovisioning of cremators. We have 6 crematoria in Hong Kong. And starting from the 15th year of the service life cycle, we start looking into whether they should be reprovisioned. This is the principle that we have all along been adhering to. And it takes some time to replace or reprovision the cremators, so we need to plan ahead. Will the capacity be enhanced? 4 new cremators will replace the old ones. That means the capacity should remain the same. However, in the future, we will also consider using advanced technologies. We will make reference to overseas practices. In fact, recently we visited the mainland in search of technologies that are suited to our situation. And it should come with air pollution control technologies that can help us meet emission standards. With the use of advanced technologies, we hope to shorten the time for cremation so that more sessions can be made available.
Come on.
Thank you. I believe other members will follow up on Mr. Benson-Look's question. Well, Mr. Benson-Look has already requested to speak in the second round. Next member, Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to know the income of Kwai Chung Crematorium each year. I'd like to ask questions one by one. First, on the income of Kwai Chung Crematorium. Undersecretary, Assistant Director, well, we don't have figures at hand. We can provide information after the meeting. Well, yes, we can calculate the income. 7,000 sessions. So can you give us a ballpark figure? Well, we'll provide supplementary information in writing. Yes, written reply. Well, the reason why I asked this question is that I'm not cold-blooded. I understand this is a necessary service, but the government is having a tight budget. We need to tighten our belt. As I've heard, the cremators are old. They need constant repairs, but is that sufficient to convince members of the public in Hong Kong that these cremators need to be repaired? Say your air conditioners at home act up, they need to be repaired. So even if your air conditioners need constant repairs, is it necessary to replace the air conditioners? Air conditioners might not be an important issue, but we're talking about $500 million or so. The project also covers reprovisioning or refurbishing offices and so on. Every single dollar counts. So if you need to repair the cremators, how much is the maintenance cost? It's possible that the government budget will be in the black again in 2 to 3 years' time. If it takes $10 to $20 million to repair the cremators, then we can probably repair them. Members of the public will understand. $500 million, if they can be used for 15 years, that is averaging $40 million per year. So I'd like to know the income of Kwai Chung Crematorium. If the income of the Kwai Chung Crematorium is several million dollars per year, so how can you convince members of the public? That's my question. I'll try to take the question. If my colleague would like to supplement, please feel free to do so. We'll give you information about the income. There are cremation sessions. There are also fixed fees about the sessions, so we can calculate the income. The EMSD and the ASD will be responsible for the repairs on the cremators. Each year, they total $40 million or so. In general, 15 years or so, the cremators will reach the end of their service life. We try to use as long as possible, that is 2 decades about. These cremators operate at high temperature. They will deform, and we also need to constantly repair them. If the services are affected, members of the public have high expectations about cremation sessions. That is, the ashes can't be mixed up. If the cremators catch fire, then there will be problems. But then we also need to comply with the requirements and guidelines. They also need to be cost effective. When cremators age, they become older. And when they become older, we need to repair the parts. there are not many suppliers, and this will also have an impact on our repairs, hence the cost. We also need to meet the requirements of the EPD in relation to air pollution. These will move with the times and they become stricter as time goes by. So, in the course of complying with the standards, when we reprovision cremators, we can make sure we're actually meeting the requirements of the EPD. Otherwise, there will be no chances to reprovision or refurbish the cremators. Next, Mr. Bill Tang. Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple of questions. What about when we build new cremators elsewhere? What is the construction cost? If we need to reprovision the cremators, we need to suspend the operation of the cremators. After all, we have an aging population in Hong Kong. What about the peak demand? Well, put it this way, this may be a sensitive subject. We're talking about the figures in 2023. In 2033, you gave us an estimate, but is it the highest estimate? Probably with an aging population, there will be a decrease in the figures. So when will the trend peak? What is your anticipation of the demand? We talk about green nowadays. The cremators operate at high temperature. Well, how can we enhance our use of energy? That is how we can better use the thermal energy of the cremators. Ex-electrical member Mr. Wong Kwok-heng mentioned management problems. So there were individual cases where ashes were mixed up. How can you ensure these problems will not once again happen? 2 questions, Under Secretary, please. Thank you, Chairperson. On energy, I hope the ASD will take the question. And when it comes to mixing up the ashes, I will ask the FEHD to give you more information. I will take the remaining 2 questions. Comparing reprovisioning and building new cremators, first of all, we need to identify suitable locations. Afterwards, when we have identified suitable locations, take Kwai Chung as an example, we keep existing structures. We don't have to rebuild new structures. We don't need to make scientific comparisons, but having considered different possibilities or factors, building new cremators will give rise to a higher cost. As there are rising number of deaths every year, and with an aging population in Hong Kong, in 2043, the figure will rise to 83,000. And it will account for 95% of the death toll, totaling 78,850. So beyond 2043, we will estimate once again. Regarding the remaining 2 questions, I will invite my colleague to give you more information. ASD, Project Director. Thank you. In relation to the reuse of thermal energy, cremators will give off a lot of thermal energy. We can recycle the thermal energy to power and other water system. There are shower facilities which require hot water. So the cremators will work to provide boil water to the showering facilities for staff members. In the past, there were cases in which ashes were mixed up. In response to these unfortunate accidents, we have already computerized our system. Now we have a barcode for the coffins. So after the cremation, we need to verify the barcodes before subsequent procedures will take place. So there won't be any such cases. We'll keep testing and updating our system to make sure they are fully computerized and free of errors. We have already fully computerized our system. Thank you. Next member, Ms. Chan Yuet-ming. Thank you, Chairman. On the service life of cremators in general, it's about 15 to 20 years. For Kwai Chung Crematorium, the 4 cremators started operation in 2003. Some 7,000 sessions per year. They've been in use for nearly 20 years. So I think there is an urgent need to reprovision the 4 cremators. Especially nowadays, cremation is still the main way to handle diseased bodies. When cremators are in operation, when the cremator breaks down, then the onus is on the government. It will be in a tight spot. So before cremators act up, I think it's important to think ahead and to plan ahead. I in principle support the project. However, in the course of the reprovisioning of the Kwai Chung Crematorium, you will suspend the operation of the crematorium. There are 2 service halls. For the funeral parlors in Hong Kong, for example, some younger families opt for cremation and rituals to take place at the same time in the funeral parlor. This can ease the pressure on other funeral parlors. But then the Kwai Chung Crematorium only has 2 service halls. So in the reprovisioning works, is it possible to enlarge service halls? Can you add more floors to Kwai Chung Crematorium? It has 2 stories right now. Is it possible to make better use of the space? We understand looking for a new place to provide cremators, crematorium, or even funeral parlors is no easy task. I understand it's a tall order. So if the reprovisioning project will involve the suspension of the cremators in the crematorium, is it possible to expand the crematorium? There are many views in the community. There have been improvements to cremation services. Fetus less than 24 weeks of pregnancy will have to be handled separately. That is, for fetus less than 24 weeks of pregnancy, will you consider arranging for cremation services in the same building? Thank you.
Now let me take the first question. There are 2 service halls and 4 cremators in this crematorium. They have all along been working very well. I haven't heard of any shortage of service provided by the service halls. Now, apart from the cremators, there are other services available, such as the facility for abortus cremation, and we also have some sort of temporary columbarium for the interment of ashes. So we've optimized the use of space here. To take the second point, in recent years, we have introduced measures to streamline the process. That means the memorial service may be held at the service halls of crematoria. For the fetus in the state you mentioned is not regarded as human remains, so no cremation service is available, but we have, after all, arranged this service to meet the existing service demand. So through the special service provided, we don't need to rely on cremators for human remains. What about additional floors? Let me supplement. As mentioned by the Undersecretary, this crematorium is not big in size, and the purpose of this exercise is to reprovision the cremators and refurbish the facilities. On the approved OZP of Kwai Chung, where Kwai Chung Crematorium is situated, there is a restriction. Only 2 stories would be allowed. Right, I'm the last to speak. 7,000 cremation sessions are provided every year by this 2-story Kwai Chung crematorium. Is it possible to just demolish and reprovision 2 cremators at a time instead of doing it in one go? And you also mentioned cremation services available elsewhere as a special arrangement. Can you tell us where additional service capacity will be provided? Let me give the floor to my colleague from the ASD to answer the question on whether phased reprovisioning will be allowed. Basically, at this point, we are considering Cape Collinson Crematorium as well as Warhop Shack Crematorium. Additional cremation sessions will be made available by these 2 crematoria. If need be, we will also consider using other crematoria. ASD? Is it possible to phase the reprovisioning of cremators? The answer is that all cremators are situated in the same room in the crematorium. It is crammed. So if we take a phased approach, I'm afraid that it will take longer and it will be more costly. We find the proposal the optimal approach. I will allow a second round. Mr. Benson-Look has pressed a button to speak again. Let's see if there are other members who would like to speak again as well. Mr. Benson-Look, 4 minutes. $550 million is not a small sum. Well, the administration did their level best in explaining the proposal to us. However, I think the argument in this paper is really flimsy. You just told us that the cremators are approaching the end of their service life, but members ask other questions, such as the cost of repair and how service would be disrupted. And as such, I have 3 more questions. Perhaps they can answer me now or give me a written reply later, so as to level with the public details of your proposal and help us support you. As the paper suggests, their stability will deteriorate and require more frequent repairs, thus have to be provisioned to avoid disruptions to the cremation service. My first question is this. In fact, another member already asked about repairs. In terms of staff costs and maintenance and repair costs, can you give us a breakdown? Because as far as businesses go, we should make everything last for as long as possible, especially since we are pulling the purse strings tight. In the past, how was service disrupted? Did the service capacity was the service capacity reduced by half? Can you give us more figures? Third question. In fact, I've asked the same question before. In the coming years, how many cremators or crematoria has reached at least 15 years of their service life and that they are approaching the end of the service cycle, so that the public has an idea how much will be spent on service maintenance? 3 questions, Under Secretary. We already explained that over $40 million are required to maintain the existing cremators. We provide additional cremation sessions through special arrangements in our operations as well as manpower deployment. But like the member said, if something goes wrong, definitely the public will be affected, and the quality of cremation service at the crematorium will be affected as well, not to mention air pollution control. So we need to balance different factors. Our plan is that in 2031, the 10 new cremators in Wahop Shek Cemetery or crematorium will be commissioned, and by then, the cremators in 2 other crematoria will be reprovisioned. I'll see if the FEHD would like to supplement. Deputy Director. The member asked for data. That is to say, apart from regular maintenance and repair, how was the service disrupted as a result of emergency repairs? I can provide this information later. Just to supplement, the normal service life of the cremators is 20 years. Some of the cremators have gone beyond 20 years. We closely monitor the operation of cremators at each crematorium. And as Undersecretary just said, when time is ripe, we would take it forward in an orderly manner. And we want to make sure that whilst we undertake this exercise, we will ensure that stable level of cremation sessions will be provided. This is the basis on which we undertake reprovisioning of cremators. Let me reiterate that whilst we can provide a reference figure on the number of cremators breaking down in the past, we need to bear in mind that as cremators approach the end of their expected service life, the performance will deteriorate and more frequent repairs will be needed. We have no idea when the cremators will break down and how frequent will this happen. What we can do is to minimize the frequency. Basically, cremation service is provided by the government only. If a cremator breaks down, service disruptions will take place. That means the members of the public will need to go elsewhere for the service. We don't want to see it happen, and that is why we'd like to make sure that reprovisioning happens at the appropriate juncture. Now, to take the other question as to whether additional cremation sessions will be available, we will consider using the latest technologies to optimize the service provision. We also need to consider the location of the crematorium. Take Kwai Chung Crematorium as an example. There is an environmental permit that imposes limitations on the number of sessions and the hours of operation of the cremators. This is a one-to-one reprovisioning program. We can provide information to members after the meeting. Yes, please do that for the benefit of Mr. Benson Look. This is a public works proposal. I've just heard comments made by members. Members have expressed different concerns. I'd urge the administration to follow up on the following matters, such as the arrangements during suspension of the cremators, whether fees will go up after provisioning, and that the number of days pledged can be shortened from 15 days. And I haven't heard anyone opposed to the proposal in our deliberations. So let me ask members whether all of you support the Public Works proposal of reprovisioning of cremators. This is how I will conclude this meeting. Since there is no objection, this panel supports the government's proposal of reprovisioning the cremators. Meanwhile, would the administration please note the members' concern, and before submission of this item to the PWSC, please explain your work to the members and provide information. Nothing under AOB. Meetings adjourned.
好，唔該晒。